And good morning, YouTube. It is cold today here in Robeson County, North Carolina. Yes, it's a very cold day down here. There was ice on the window. There is a good bit of frost on the ground. And I think tomorrow night or tonight and tomorrow morning it's supposed to be even colder. Cool. I wish I had my camera out, my regular camera, to take a picture of the moon. It's so beautiful over my family's pecan orchard. But anyway, anyhow, it is cold. But I think we've established that fact that it is cold. Headed off to work now on this cold and balmy morning. Well, yesterday I kind of gave a response or an answer to Guns and Gadgets about the issue of off-duty personnel carrying firearms, concealed firearms on military installations when they're off duty. Had some pretty good feedback from some of the viewership. Really appreciate your thoughts and some of the information you provided. Some of it is information apparently DOD is like anything else, has a changing policies from time to time. So I was made aware of some changes in some of those policies for certain branches. Westwood Survival, I appreciate your input, brother. Bringing me up to date on some of the policies from your time. Like I said, I don't disagree with what Guns and Gadgets says. I just think that the Chief of Staff of the Army had his concerns. And long story short, yes, Steve, of course there are trainers. Soldiers do dumb stuff in the barracks, even today. Steve and I kept going back and forth in the comments yesterday after I did the video. He was trying to make Marines out to be a bunch of little angels. Devil's angels, maybe. No, but all kidding aside, God bless every man and woman who has and is or now serving. There's always going to be inter-service rivalry. So I'm going to talk about that this morning. Inter-service rivalry. What I found out, 22 years in the Army, you meet and see people from other branches of service at some point in time in your career. A little history. The Navy and Marine Corps have always kind of been a pairing, if you will. Most Marines do not like to be reminded of the fact that their paychecks come from the Department of the Navy and that their rear ends ride Navy equipment everywhere they go. The Navy, on the other hand, likes to refer to their Marines as junior sailors, among other things. And, we in the Army, we like to refer to the Air Force as, soft or flyboys or there's some other stuff. We're referred to as grunts, and I'm trying to keep the language clean here, folks, because there's some other derogatory names we always call each other. But the Army's referred to as grunts or other derogatory terms. But it's always in good jest, always in good fun. And all of us refer to the Coast Guard as puddle hoppers. It's the nature of the beast. Even though I've got the utmost respect and admiration for the Coast Guard, because out of all the military service, they don't belong to the Department of Defense, one. They fall under Homeland Security now, but when I first joined the military, they still fell under the Department of the Treasury. No, Transportation. Then they went from Treasury to Transportation to Homeland Security. You get my lie right. But they have a real world mission every day. They're out there on drug interdiction missions. They're out there on rescue missions. Responsible for harbor security and a whole slew of things. My hat's off to the Coast Guard. We joke and tease them. And then you got the National Guard, and a lot of people like to refer to the National Guard as, well, I'm not going to use that term. I didn't like That's the only one I probably never really liked. But then you got your reservists, you know, and all the branches have a reserve component. Only 2 branches have components under the National Guard, and the Air Force and the Army. But what's interesting to know, the Army loves to remind the Air Force, hey, if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't exist kind of mentality, because the Air Force did branch off from the Army. By the time World War II came into being, it was the Army Air Corps, eventually went to the U.S. Army Air Forces, and then in 1947 became its own wholly independent branch of service, the United States Air Force. It's the youngest of the military branches. And see, now we all got a new one we get to make fun of that we've been making fun of since the announcement, which is Space Force. They came out with that creation. I'm just curious what the rank insignia is going to look like. It's going to have a picture of Buzz Lightyear on the chevrons. That would be cool. And all the memes that come out when they came out was, you know, that they were going to create a Space Force. My whole thing, I thought the Air Force already kind of was covering that ground. But I digress on that one. But anyway, inter-service rivalry. We in the military, we love to poke fun at one another. You know, always do. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, and you boil the grits down to the bottom of the pan, we homogenize pretty darn good, I think. And I will tell you, as an old Army soldier, the best treatment I ever got was at Rosie Roads Naval Air Station in 1997. You're like, whoa, wait a minute, what were you doing down there? Well, we had a big operation called Purple Dragon way back in the day. It's the only time I ever made Soldier magazine. But we had a big operation down there, Purple Dragon, big readiness deployment exercise. So the only place that they could find to keep us until it was time for us to go to the field was the Marine Reserve Center on Rosie Roads Naval Air Station. The Army Reserve Center that was there, I don't know if they couldn't or if they wouldn't really provide the support that they were more or less tasked to support us with. We got down there and it was, you know, interesting to see when we got to the Marine Reserve Center. They had already laid out cots and everything for us. They had laid, and of course we had to coordinate and do a lot of stuff, but they had laid on the bus transportation to get us to the galley and back each day. And then when our equipment wound up being late because of a storm at sea, we got stuck on Rosie Roads for about a week. We had to leave the Marine Reserve Center for a weekend because they had their weekend drill coming up. And the National Guard Armory there, the Army Reserve Center there, really just didn't, I don't know, to me they didn't go above and beyond like the Navy and Marines did for us that time, and as far as helping us find other accommodation. So what the Marine Reserve Center did, they called transient barracks or transient quarters and made arrangements for us to stay there. And so we did, and I don't take that very lightly when we did go. Yeah, and again, like I said, at the end of the day, we do homogenize. We really do. I had the opportunity in my years at Fort Bragg to work with other branches of service from time to time. When I was in Iraq, I had the opportunity to work with other branches for a little bit here and there, doing stuff. Like I said, at the end of the day, when it boils down to it, we're one team, one fight, one country. But we do like to pick at each other. And Steve, of course, they're trainers. We pick at each other from time to time. I like to tease him about which is his favorite flavor, Crayola crayon. We were kind of going back and forth yesterday on my video, and I thought it was just some of the comments were funny with each other, and But if you haven't checked out Steve's channel, you need to go check him out. He's good people. He's got a lot of good content. Likewise, go check out Westwood Survival. Got a lot of good information out there on prepping and survival. But yeah, inter-service rivalry. I don't think our military would be what it is without it. Okay? Because it does, to some extent, encourage competition, and competition encourages people to strive to be their best. Can it get carried away? Certainly. There's times it always does. Even within the same branch, artillery versus infantry, or infantry versus the engineers, whatever the case may be. My first tour of duty on Fort Bragg, this was in the same brigade, the brigade I was in at the time. My company passed another company. As a matter of fact, we passed the brigade headquarters company on a run. Their company commander didn't like it, and my company commander didn't care, and gave him some foul language attitude. And long story short, had a platoon sergeant back in formation because their first sergeant was in the middle of us, trying to keep our company on our side of the line as we were passing, and his company in line. And a young private, and a sergeant first class in our company, I heard from the very back holler, "Push him out of the way!" So, and about 5 guys in front of me kind of nudged the guy, and I just followed suit. Well, about the time I nudged him, that said mentioned platoon sergeant come around behind me and come in right after I nudged this guy and gave him a full-blown shoulder block. Well, needless to say, their company commander thought I was the one that did it. He come up running, snatched me, and next thing you know, both companies stopped in the middle of the street, and it was about to be on like Donkey Kong. And of course, my company commander kind of had a nonchalant, didn't care attitude. Not surprised, the man retired. He actually retired as lieutenant general. But that was many, many moons ago. But again, it happens, and sometimes it does get carried away. But like I said, for the most part, it's good-hearted, wholesome fun. It's what makes our military unique. But like I said, even in the Army, just amongst the various branches and even units, I've been running on Fort Bragg and watching infantry units taunt each other. First battalion of this regiment and the first battalion of this regiment going at it. But again, it builds teams, and it is motivational. Because like I said, at the end of the day, we all come together. Just saw a hoot owl on the road. Interesting. But it's like I said, always good-hearted fun. And we all of us have our own brand, our own traditions. This is where I give hats off to the Navy and the Marine Corps. Their traditions and rituals, and they do a better job of maintaining them. I can't say much for the Air Force because I'm not as admired with as many of theirs, given they're the youngest branch of service. Some they took with them from the Army, certainly. But case in example, and some people might frown on this one, but I don't. The Navy and the Marine Corps still have a what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to use segregation. But there's a level of distinct separation in the rank structure when it comes to the on-base club system. And again, that may have changed since I retired, but that was the other thing about Rosie Roads. We had some time off and we could use the MWR facilities on the base. Well, all the staff sergeants below in our company, we were told that you have to go to the NCO club. All right, because a lot of that at that point in time, the Army was transitioning from NCO and officer and enlisted clubs. They were working on meshing them all together. They hadn't quite done so yet, but found out real quick that in the Navy and the Marine Corps, there was an enlisted members club, which is usually for E4 and below, NCO club E5 to E6, and then they had their seniors, which was E7 to E9, and then of course they had their officers club, which I thought was pretty interesting. Now, and why is that kind of important? Well, when I was growing up, my dad was he was very adamant about the NCO club system, non-commissioned officers club system. He had served as a master of ceremonies and manager at one in Japan as an additional duty when he went. But everywhere he went, he always supported the NCO club. And back in his day, you come payday, one of the first places you went as an NCO was to the club, and you paid your monthly dues. And you could go to the club. Most NCO clubs had their own barber shop. You could go cash a check there if you need to cash a check, that kind of thing. A lot of that's changed now. Now the British Army's kind of unique in that they still have non-commissioned officers mess, is what they call it. And that, during normal feeding times, from what I've read, when they're not in the field and engaged in training, the lower enlisted soldiers go to theirs, and the NCOs go to their mess, because what it is, when they pay in, they augment the rations that are bought, or they supplement, I guess is a better term for it. But I just, remember Dad talking about it on most duty days when he was in, and you ate your unit's dining facility or mess hall, but you were expected to eat 1 or 2 meals a week at the NCO club, and a lot of times breakfast was the better meal to go to, you'd say. And all that's kind of, as far as the Army, I can't speak for the rest of the branches. For the Army's kind of gone away the way of the dodo, I guess. There's no more distinct clubs. It's all the club. And if you're wondering why I'm going to that, to me, in order to provide good order and discipline, you still have to have that separation in the rank structures to an extent. Not to the way it was in the 40s and 50s, but anyhow, that's just my thoughts on that. Like I said, inter-service rivalry, most of the time good-hearted fun, pick at each other, but at the end of the day, we pick each other up, brush each other off, and move out and accomplish our mission. And nobody hurts more than the U.S. soldier, sailor, airman, marine, or coast guardsman when one of our own dies, especially in combat. You have to pause and reflect when you hear of it, and you push through it. And then, you get back to the, go Army, beat Navy, or whoever the Air Force plays. I don't know. Speaking of which, I think the Army-Navy game is this weekend, I think. I've been seeing a lot of the memes. The one, and they've got a video now that's kind of, I don't know, corny, cheesy. new Sergeant Major of the Army's in it, and I can tell by the look on his face that he really didn't want to participate. And I can only say that because I had served with the Sergeant Major of the Army when he served at Fort Bragg. He was one of the best NCOs I ever had the pleasure of serving with. I didn't work directly for him, but he was a stickler for detail, I'll tell you that, and probably still is. But I could just tell on that video, he was just, they show him calling him because the Chief of Staff, let me call the Sergeant Major of the Army, and he answers, and they're all saying "hooah" in the various versions and forms. That's the other thing. Each branch of service has their way of saying "hooah." You know, the Marine Corps, it sounds like they're throwing up a bucket of Alpo dog food. The Navy is more of the "hooshaw" or "hoosah," and who knows what else. The Air Force and Army are very similar. "Hooah" or "hoorah" or "hoo-yay." I used to have a running joke. Marine Corps was "hoorah," the Navy was "hooshaw," the Army was "hooah," and the Air Force was "hooah." I don't know what the Coast Guard says. I don't know what their motivational slang or phrase is. Never really put much thought into theirs. I think they use the Navy's version of "hooshaw" or "hoosah," and that's all. You know, that goes back a long way to motivational slang terms that the military uses. But anyway, I just thought the video was funny. So that being said, I'm going to close this thing out today. Get in here and get ready to go to work and get these kids closed out for the semester and get ready for our Christmas break. So me and Mrs. Old Soldier can head out to Tennessee for a week or so. But yeah, I think, like I said, the Army-Navy game's this weekend, I think. So that being said, I'd like to say this: go Navy, lose to Army. Psych, got y'all, didn't I? But anyway, all my viewers and subscribers out there, God bless each and every one of you. I really appreciate y'all. Don't know how much. I appreciate the comments. Certainly learn from them. Keep them coming. All seriousness aside, though, you know, I love everybody that has served or is serving, regardless of branch of service. Again, inter-service rivalry is what makes us unique. But at the end of the day, we all come together and fight the same battle. And I just want to say God bless each and every member of our armed forces today, those past and present, and their families. Appreciate what you do for us each and every day, especially this time of year when you're away from family and friends, because you have made the conscious decision to put yourself between us and those that would do us harm. So God bless you, and we pray for you each and every day. So with that being said, folks, just remember the charities I'd always ask you to help out with. TunnelsToTowers.org, Folds of Honor, Pin Up for Vets and Valor for Veterans. They can't do it by themselves. Anything you can give to help them out would certainly be appreciated. Vendors, Money Quick Pawn, Rayford Road in Fayetteville, North Carolina. That's where the old soldier goes to for all his firearms and ammunition needs. Robert's Custom Woodwork, when he comes back open on 2 January, go and see what he's got and put in an order. He'll appreciate it. I'd appreciate it. Likewise, Unsung Patriot. Go check him out. He's got a lot of cool t-shirts, sweatshirts, and hoodies and other items. Go check him out. He's got some good stuff. And likewise, it's still not too late to go ahead and order some of my books. Get them in time so you can put them in a stocking stuffers for anybody you know that likes my poetry or likes poetry in general. Likewise, my shirts, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies are all available down below, and all the links that are somewhere down there in the description. I gotta learn how to do these card things that I can put it on there. I ain't quite figured that out yet. So that being said, folks, God bless, take care. Be safe out there. Remember our men and women in service. Remember our men and women in law enforcement and emergency management, as they all stand ready to defend and save lives. Pray for them, pray for their families. And until tomorrow, TGIF Fun Friday, it's the Old Soldier out.